Hello and welcome to this beer clipper video. In this video I show you how I take a couple of 3D printed models, one of which I'd actually had in my box for quite a long time and one of which I printed relatively recently, and I put it onto an awesome looking display base. I really like this project, it came out so well. Used a couple of very simple techniques, things like air dry clay, green stuff weld rollers, and also glow in the dark pigment, which is wonderful. I've put this on my shelf outside of room 13, just out there, and when I go to bed at night I turn the lights on the corridor and it sits there and it glows in the dark as I walk past it, and it always makes me smile. And well, that's a sign of something that's been good to make, isn't it? So please do let me know in the comments what you think. I do love reading all your comments. I do reply to them all, don't be shy. And yeah, I really hope you enjoy the video, and thank you very much for watching. For quite a while I've been painting up these two figures just in my off of my 20 minutes, not during the 20 minutes mainly. Had a lot of fun doing it. I'll put the links to the files below. They're both 3D printed models. I'm now coming to the point where I want to introduce them on the videos here, because I want to do a nice diorama. And the idea I had with these two was that this one here would be bringing an offering to her goddess, who is up here, who is maybe not a goddess, but we'll never know. So the idea would be, as you can see, I've got a roughly stepped kind of thing. We'd have a steps going up, and this goddess is at the top, and she's at the bottom about to climb up the steps to go and give her offering. So that's the idea. I've just mocked it up very, very loosely with some blue foam. I'm not totally sure yet on the dimensions and on the actual on the layout and how I'm going to do the base, though I have some ideas obviously. So I just wanted to introduce that and start thinking about it, and it'll be happening over the next little while. I'm not going to rush this one, it's just going to be a display piece. There may be some other bits and pieces that go onto it. I do have other miniatures that might work, but at the moment I'm thinking that something just that clean and kind of sparse really works well. And I may do some colonnade along the back maybe, and maybe some other bits and pieces like that, but I don't think I'll have any more miniatures on it. So I'm going to fiddle around with this a bit more, play around with the arrangement, work out the dimensions and the rough positioning, and then I'll bring you along when I've done that, and we're about to start the next step. That was a fun little session. So what I've ended up with is this. So I've cut each of the edges at 45 degrees to match, so you've got little kind of overlaps, and then I've actually decided to go for a central, so the votive will be coming in from this direction and the goddess will be sitting on the top. And that gives a nice scope for some other things maybe to be added later or now, whatever, over in this area. But the focus is very much going to be coming in like this. So what I'm now going to do is glue each of these sections down just using PVA and just weight it down. So I'll put some PVA, glue, PVA and then glue, and then do each of the layers all at once, and then let that with a weight on it overnight to set. And then I'll come on and do the next step, which is going to be using air dry clay and rollers to do some texture. So yeah, really happy with that layout. I've not yet decided whether I'm going to keep it on the MDF board or not. I've just set it on that for now. I might do, I might not, but for now I'm just going to glue the XPS together, the foam together, and I'm not going to glue it to the bottom. And then yeah, then I can start to do the textures next time I come get some time. But I'm going to think about this base for the offering to the goddess. A suggestion on the vlog last week was to do it with like a marble base. Now I've thought about that quite a lot, and I've decided against it because I just don't think it fits in with the aesthetic I'm looking for. But I will try to do something marble soon, because I really need to get back to practicing how to paint marble. But I've decided against that for now. What I'm going to use is air dry clay and my Egyptian roller, which I've not used before, and I'm going to try and use it in a different way than I've tried before as well. So the Egyptian roller is interesting in that on one side it's got all like kind of like hieroglyphics and writing, and then here it's got carvings, which is a bit frustrating because it'd be nice to be able to just go bah, 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 and get a whole roll of carvings, or better and have a whole roll of the writing, and maybe have the writing aligned so that when you roll out a length of it. It's a bit odd that they've decided to do it like this. It would probably be better to have had half of the roller all carvings like this and half of the roller the writing going round, and then you could have done something a bit more easily. However, what this is mean I'm going to have to do, and I've not done this before, as always, trying to do things, having to do things on camera for the first time, is I'm going to try to get the carvings, and I would like to put the carvings on the base around here, 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 and here, and then I'm going to try to get the writing on the steps. Now let's see if that works. So the way that I'm going to have to do this is roll it in. There we are. So we've got some there, and then I'm going to have to cut out the bits that I want to stick them on independently. So I'm going to have to take a cutting here and here, and literally slice out the sections that I'm looking for, and then hope I can lift it without damaging it too much. And this might take a few attempts, and it might be better for me to have lifted and separated from the base before I do that cut, but we shall see. So let's just get that out of the way. Yeah, I think I probably should have lifted the whole thing and then done the cut, because this is going to get damaged, but that's fine. I'm learning. Just learning while you're watching. That's lifted okay. There we are. So we've got ourselves that, and I can now glue that down in place, cut out another one, glue that down, and I'll just place them along and then place them along. It's going to take quite a while, but I think it's going to end up being a really nice effect, and then I can paint them up. So I'm going to do that. For the writing, you can see that I've got a section of writing here, so once again I can cut that out, as I say, and separate that out and then stick that in place where I want it to go. So we'll see whether it works or not. It will take a while. It might even take more than one evening, because I don't have a whole lot of time at the moment, as usual, to be honest. So it might take a while for me to get this done. But I'll report back when I've got a little bit more to show you, and when we find out whether this is actually going to work or if I throw it away. Yeah, dry clay has gone off nicely, and I've been thinking for a couple of days now about what to do with this level. Now, I almost left it, and I might still, but I'm not sure I will. I almost left it just with the bricks and painting it, but what I'm thinking I'm going to do is I'm going to paint some of this thin balsa wood in gold, because I will then clad both that step and the front of each of these in gold, rather than doing the hieroglyphs, which I ended up deciding to put around the main plinth up here. So yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint this in gold, and then I can paint the rest of this as well, and then come along and glue the balsa in and cut it to size, and I think that'll be really, really nice. So those are the two things I'm going to do now. I'll go away and do this off camera, just get that painted up, and that's fine. So the thing that I need to really work out is what colour am I going to paint this whole thing. Now normally, obviously, of course, you would be looking at painting something black and then dry brushing it, but that's not what I'm going to do. I need to pick a colour which is going to work nicely with the gold, so that's going to be one of the challenges, and I want something that I can then potentially come along and pick out the colours of the hieroglyphs and of the drawings, so I can make it a little bit more poppy. This is where I want to spend my time, really, is really making this base stand out and jump. I also would like to have a column on each side on this level here, so not on the hieroglyph level but on the gold panel level. So those are the steps to do next. I'm going to think about the colours. We'll start on these pillars. I'll show you how I'm going to make those, and in the meantime, in the background, I will be painting up some sheets of plywood to clad the exposed edges. So yeah, happy with how it's going so far. Unsure what colour, but I'm sure I'll work it out. So here we have two cores of XPS I've just cut on my Proxon. They're about 1.5 centimetres, 15mm cube square, by 12 centimetres high, and that means that they come in just above the height of her wings, which is what I want. So I don't just want to have them as plain columns, what I want to have them is slightly shaped. So I also here have some crunchy hazelnut muesli, a cardboard box from Cereal Packet, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut some shapes out of this, basically geometric. I'm not going to go too fancy because I don't want to I know my limitations, but each one is going to be just a little bit wider, and it's going to allow me to create like a pyramidoidal, is that even a word? I don't know, shape going up, visible probably only from the front. So it will start wider at the base and it will step up towards the column, and I'll do that twice. So I'll do that on both ones, and then these will be painted gold as well. So I will start measuring and cutting. I'll bring you back when I've got the pieces and I'll show you how I go about doing that. But for now, I'm just going to stick a YouTube video on and point the and just kind of get cutting, get measuring, and we'll see what happens. So what I've done is I've taken that cardboard and cut it up into strips, getting steadily narrower and steadily shorter. So what I'll do now is glue these together as a pancake, making sure that they line up centrally. And then when that's all dried together, and I will wait for that to dry fully, I will stick that on the front of my XPS stick, and then that can be painted and will be able to go onto the piece. I might end up actually making one slightly longer that's exactly the same height as the pole, as the pillar, and I might end up doing some more around the outside as well, just to like seal it all in cardboard. But that will probably be just left as all the same height. This is basically the design that I want on the front. So first thing I'm going to do is glue all these together, and then I'll bring you along when I've done that and show you what I want the final thing to look like before I stick it in place, before I paint it. But very simple technique. I'm not going too fancy. You can go very fancy with these sorts of things, all sorts of like shapes and what have you. But I want this to be quite a basic shape. But I think it's going to look very nice. These little sandwiches have been glued together and they look really nice. Just a little bit of 3D effect. What I'm going to do now is get each one of these stuck to my XPS. So a little bit of PVA down there, sit that on the top, and then that'll be done. What I was muttering about before and not making much clarity, I was quite tired when I filmed that, apologies. I want to fill in this gap here and this gap here. So what I'll be doing is cutting out some more cardboard of the same thing, 12 centimeters long and 1.5 centimeters wide, and then stick it on until it's basically matching up to the edge. So we end up with that as the front, and then it will be even on the sides. So that's what I'm about to do now. Just a bit of PVA. I've glued these with PVA as well, and I'm just going to sit and watch YouTube videos again. Just chilling out this Sunday. But I'll bring you back when that's finished, and then they're going to be painted gold, as I've said. Now I've also thought about what colour I want to paint the main thing. And what colour I want to paint the main thing is, reaching up onto my shelf of awesome, dark green. So I'm going to paint this green, and then I can bring it up from that. But that's going to maybe help me, and actually going to maybe allow me to do a kind of like maybe the marble's going to come back, green marble effect, and then I can pick out the details with the lighter green and the yellow and all those sorts of things. But I'm going to base coat it all in that, which is basically a deep green, and that's also mixed up with some PVA, so it'll act as a sealant as well. So there we are. I'll get those things done and bring you back for the next step when I get there. But yeah, it's really coming on now. This really starting to see where this is going to end up going. I realised filling in these side gaps entirely with cardboard was a bit of a silly thing to do, a bit of a waste of time and effort. So what I've done is I've got some more of the same XPS that I use, and I've cut a sliver that's just enough to fill in the gap. And what I can do is I can put some cardboard down the side to seal it, and then that's going to be done. So yeah, I'll keep going with that. But yeah, I was just realised, what am I doing? Why am I wasting my effort? So yeah, just cut a little sliver there. So cool, get that glued in, and then get that painted, and then we'll get that onto the base. It's amazing what a good solid green covering will do to a piece, huh? So what we have here is balsa wood that's been sprayed gold, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick it down, cut it out and stick it down over this level. So cut here, and then I can fill in the middle as well. And once I've done that, I'm going to think about whether I'm going to attempt to line along the edges of each of these. Now I come to look at it, I've really not done these very well. So I might just leave it, or I might come along and paint this a different colour. afterwards. But what I'm going to do now anyway, and I'll get this done, is just cut this up. It's very, very soft because obviously it is balsa wood. Glue it down with the with PVA, and then weight it down and then leave it. So I'm just going to do this top section, and I've got 2 more that I have sprayed as well, but that may not end up getting used. So yeah, I'll get that done and I'll bring you back, show you what it looks like when it's done, and then I'm going to start looking at painting the details on the reliefs here. So I'll have to start thinking about that. As you can see, we've got the pillars done and they're ready to be glued in. Just got the little notch cut out like I said, so that one will glue in there and the other one will go on the other side. So all I'll do is I'll just use some PVA, which will be sufficient to hold it in place. If you're a little nervous of it getting knocked, for example, if you're doing this more as a gaming piece than I'm doing it as a display piece obviously, then you could very much pin this both this way and also from the base. But seeing as I am literally only doing this as a display piece, I'm not too worried about that. So I'm going to glue them both on like that, yeah, then when they dry, then we'll be nearly ready to start the final dressing up. I still haven't decided yet about the rest of the gold, and the next step will be to paint these shapes as well. So I'll let these dry and then I'll be painting the shapes. Right, so let's get to the detail painting. I've got this bright green, which I really like, and hopefully this doesn't screw up entirely. But my plan is to basically pick out these paintings or these reliefs with the lighter green. Now I'm not too worried about going off or over the edges because they're quite raised, so I think it's going to be relatively easy to do this. It's just going to take a little bit of time. So my plan is to pick out every single detail in this lighter green. I'm not sure if I'll pick another colour, but certainly for these parts I'm going to go with this, and it will be a slightly darker because obviously as it dries it will darken up slightly, but you can see it's already picking it out really nicely. So I am going to get this done and probably take more than one sitting because I'd never have all that much time to sit at the desk. I'll get as much as I can done now and then come back to it later, finish it off. And when this is finished, it'll near enough be time to position the details and the goddess and the offerant. So yeah, this will take some time, as you can see, but I think it'll be worth it. That was a lot of fun painting all those reliefs. It took a time, took a while, about 40-45 minutes total I think, something like that. But I'm really pleased with the results. They just pop very nicely. It's very subtle, it's not over the top, but they pop really nicely. So what I'm now going to do is I'm going to start work on these top two sections. And as I've mentioned, I'm thinking about doing these with some glow in the dark. These are the Green Stuff World's glow in the dark pigments. The other day when I was doing my 20 minutes, I turned the lights out and these are sat glowing on the shelf, which actually reminded me they were there and prompted me to do this. So my thinking is that what I'm going to do is, and this is going to take some time, so I might not film all of it because it will just be very boring. But if we bring this a little bit closer, you can see this top section here is all the writing, and there's writing as well down here. What I'm thinking is I'm going to mix up the green pigment and attempt to paint inside the line. So rather than doing the relief, do the whatever it's called, do the down bit, the inside, and do that with the glow in the dark and have them glowing. And then my thought is to use yellow. I've got this reality yellow here, to paint up the relief of the tree and everything that's on the top. So we will have glow in the dark all the way around and on the letters, and then glow in the dark underneath where the goddess is actually going to sit. So that's my plans. First thing I'm going to do then is mix it up. So it is actually a pigment, so it is a powder. So what I have here is a dry palette, which I will use, and I'm going to use that section. And I've got a little kind of dippery thing. And the way that I've done this before, and I've no idea if I'm wrong, and if I am, then please one of you comment below and let me know, is I use medium to mix this into. Now I have also mixed it into paint in the past, so but I've always had a little bit of medium just to kind of help it to mix in properly. So I've got some glaze medium here, which I will just drop her in. Now I can see a potential that you might want to mix this with a mixing tool, as in put it into a bottle and actually mix it with like one of those shakers, but I don't own a shaker, so I'm having to do it this way. So I don't know if I'm wrong or right, but this is how I've done it in the past, and it's worked okay. So you're basically making up a paint using the medium. I'm going to make it a little bit more water liquid than that. Another couple of drops. There we are. Don't need too much though, as you've seen, but I do want it a little bit more than that. There we are. So with that mixed up, I'm now going to start painting these letters. And as I said, this will take some time. I'm not sure that I'm going to film it all, but I will try and get some of it on film. So I'll get myself moved around and get the camera pointed down, clean my brush. I've got myself an actual proper brush to do this rather than the cheap one that I was using before, because it needs to go in quite fine detail. So I'll clean my brush, get myself set up, point the camera down, turn it on for a bit, and then probably just do the rest of it after this session without running the camera. And I'll do the same technique on the top as well. I'll bring you back next time you hear me on this project. That'll be done and we'll be looking at finishing it up, hopefully. So here we are with shaky cam. I have painted in all of the luminous or fluorescent even paint, and what I'm now going to do is, in a totally dark room, turn the lights out. And look at that. Isn't that epic? It's exactly what I wanted. You can even see that just in underneath here, it's not as great under there, it's more visible in real life, but yeah, you can see it's really worked well. So that is actually two different colours. It's green on the outer and yellow on the top, but it's completely and utterly, you can't tell that, so that's interesting. But it still does look great. It's exactly what I was looking for, frankly. So there we are. We have, oh, just let that readjust. We have our glowing floor. So now what I'm going to do is, the next thing to do is going to be to dress this, put the miniatures in place, put the other little bits of scatter terrain that I've got in place, and then we'll wrap it up. But that's going to happen tomorrow. I'm going to let this dry. I finished painting this a little while ago. I'm going to leave it overnight to dry. But yeah, technically that top one there is done with the yellow, and the surrounding is done with the green. You can see its difference when the light's on, but not when it's glowing, which is a bit of a shame. But hey, never mind. I'm very pleased with how this build is coming out. It's been a lot of fun and I've learned a lot. Now that obviously looked absolutely awesome in the dark, but looking at it in the daylight, I've realised that I really do need to touch up over the top. So what I'm doing is not a dry brush, more an overbrush with the green, just to try to take away some of where I've been a bit messy with my application of that glow in the dark paint. And I think you can probably see straight away that it's really bringing back the look in daylight. Now it may, this may be a seesaw effect, and I may be spoiling the effect in the dark, but just that very simple dry brush, it's probably coming out a bit better in real life. But now the relief is now more obvious than it was even a second ago. So I'm very much happier with that. So the next thing I'm going to do on this is going to be to glue the bits and pieces in, but I'll let that overbrush dry, and then I'll come back and do that a bit later on today. A bit busy today, so yeah, and that should be the build finished, which is really cool. And now we get to the final bit, which is sticking the characters in place. So what we've got is, we've got the supplicant and we've got the goddess, and here are just some scatter pieces that I've painted up from various places over time, and they've just been like on the side waiting to be used, and I think this is the time. So candelabra on both sides and some kind of like assorted stuff. So I'm just going to use super glue on this, as I always do. So yeah, just a dab of super glue on the bottom of her feet, and that will hold enough. It will allow me to readjust and move again, because it doesn't actually ever stick all that securely, but it certainly sticks securely enough to be a nice display piece. So there we are, she can go there. And so yeah, so I'll just get these all glued down and then let it to go off overnight, and then yeah, I've finished. I'm really pleased. It's a really cool looking diorama, making use of a couple of really nice models here and here, and a lot of fun with the with the roller and various other little techniques I've used as well. Just 3 dots of super glue on her there. There we are. I want actually to have in front of that. There we are. It's actually very tight. I very nearly screwed up this, because it's very tight. Actually, I need to put a little bit more. I need to super glue down her back foot. There we are. So I'll turn the camera off and get this glued, because this is a bit dull, isn't it? But yeah, that's basically what's going to happen. This is going to be stuck down, and I'll get some close-ups when I finish gluing. And so we will go with shaky cam to have a quick look. Pretty pleased with this. One of the things I was trying to do was line up so her eyes, her eye line, is looking at the supplicant, and you can see that that has worked, which is really cool.
Of course, it's glow in the dark, though you've seen that, and I've got computers on, so I can't really show it now, but I will get some more pictures for the main build video to show that off. So that's going to be really, really cool. I'm very pleased actually with how this has turned out. It's been a really fun build, just taking two very different sculpts from different sculptors, and they just suddenly was like, hang on a minute, that looks really good. Now I've obviously got quite a lot of space, and so I might revisit this with some more stuff. I'm not sure. I have some ideas from the other things that might go on it, but this is certainly good enough now for the shelf. So I'm going to wrap that up now, and I may revisit it, but not anytime soon. Pretty pleased indeed with how it looks, and yeah, it came together quite nicely at the end.
So there we are. I had such a lot of fun making that diorama. It really did come together quite nicely. I have thought about putting a couple more figures on it, and I might do, but for now it sits on my shelf in the corridor, as I've said, glowing to me when I go to bed at night, and yeah, really, really fun. Just goes to show that you don't have to do too much either. It's quite basic, it's quite simple. It took a bit of time, particularly painting all those details on the reliefs, but there's not a lot going on, and it really does tell the story of a supplicant bringing an offering to her goddess. So there we are. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I love to hear from you. I do reply to every single one of you. So don't be shy, do say hello. And as always, I'll wrap this up by saying please stay healthy, stay safe, and stay well.